So in the midst of playing all of the normal games that I usually play, and obviously doing the recording sessions for Horizon Zero Dawn, something else that's been taking up quite a bit of my time is just watching a lot of Disney Plus. Which recently launched in the Scandinavian countries, and it's been really cool to basically watch a whole bunch of movies that I haven't seen in years. But also, I mean, obviously, to have the entire MCU together and everything like that. But what I thought would be pretty cool would be to maybe look at all of the Pixar movies, because I'm someone that really enjoys, I would say, a majority of them, some more than others. And I thought it would be pretty cool to basically have a look at all of the Pixar movies which we've seen over the years, up until the most recent one, which I think the latest one would be Onward. I know Soul is supposed to come out, I guess, October of this year or something like that. I think there's a small delay due to COVID or something like. I'm not sure, but yeah. Anyway, so in total we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 22 movies. That's basically the entire roster of Pixar movies that they've been coming out since 1995. Sorry that you had to listen to me count now. I guess I should have counted beforehand. But I'm very much doing this on the fly. But I thought it would be pretty cool to grab a drink and just sit and see, in terms of like a tier list of where you would put all of the Pixar movies, and obviously have a look and see what my list is and see how yours compares. But it's these are very much movies which the first one the first one's Toy Story, right? Came out 1995. I was 15 then. It was a pretty big deal. Toy Story was fucking huge because, I mean, the animation was insane. It was, ahead of its time in terms of the quality for that, but also just, what the movie was about was right up my alley, which I thought was fucking awesome. But yeah, let's go through it. Let's have a look. Grab a drink. Here we go, and let's have a look at that list. So here we go. So I didn't go with a how would I say, like a 5 out of 5 versus a 1 out of 5 or something like that, because I guess it's kind of a little bit subjective, and actually it just broke my head trying to figure out like what would a 5 out of 5 be and what would the criteria for a 5 out of 5 be. So I ended up settling on something like, like obviously the best would be like a must watch. So, I mean, that says it all. Like, you have to watch it. It's that good. So if you are in any way interested in animated movies, I actually don't have to be fucking wearing this. So there's that. But if you're in any way interested in animated movies, or Pixar's roster as a whole, then that's something that you need to watch. Still a good time, is still worth your time, still worth, if you can watch it, especially with something like Disney Plus, where it's fucking like all there and you can just watch it, then go ahead and do it. Kind of okay is generally where, I mean, it's okay to you're still gonna watch it, I guess, but there's gonna be some things which are kind of off in it, or you just don't enjoy it that much. I have to say, I kind of feel like a lot of the times I put sequels into this sort of category, but I mean, we'll get to that and we'll see it. So don't bother being ones which if you're gonna miss some of these movies, then of course you can put them into that category there. And then last one being terrible, which, let's be honest, Pixar as a studio hasn't really produced a lot of terrible, to be honest. I mean, we're gonna see how many I actually put into that category, but I don't imagine it's gonna be a lot though, because generally speaking, most of it's pretty fucking rock solid. So anyway, without any further ado, we'll go ahead. We'll just go through them chronologically, right? So we'll start with the first one, as I mentioned earlier, was Toy Story, which came out in 1995. I have to say, most of the Pixar movies, they generally they have some directors who feature a lot, like Brad Bird, for instance, is one of them, but so is John Lasseter. Now, John Lasseter, I have to say, most of the ones which he's made, I'm quite a fan of, and so we can just go right ahead there and drop Toy Story in there. So the original Toy Story, I mean, is for sure, is 100% a must watch. The animation's not that great, obviously, now. I mean, it's old as fuck now. It's like 25 years old, basically. So it's showing its age, but I mean you can't fuck with the writing. The dialogue's great. The music's good. Um, yeah, and it's just really well put together in terms of like a story, a cohesive story. So yeah, that's definitely a must watch, and you can basically take that in there. The next one, which I believe it was 3 years later, around about the same time, so it was also like a Christmas movie or something like that, was A Bug's Life. So that was their second movie as it came out. Now, of course, by the way, I'm not doing any of the shorts or anything like that, so I mean that's not going to show up here because that would just be like a fucking giant list of like 40 or 50 items or something. I don't even know how many shorts there are, but I mean there's a shitload. So this was also a John Lasseter one, A Bug's Life. And I mean, I'm not like a massive fan, and obviously, you kind of like when you watched Toy Story, it's a completely different thing, but it was still, well put together. It's just weird. So after having rewatched it, it not just because of the technology, but it just didn't age as well as Toy Story did. So Toy Story is still very much a coming of age story with like the kid, and actually, I mean, it's mostly about Woody, learning, like even though he's thinking that he's got everything figured out and all of that, but coming to terms with the fact that um, there's going to be other toys and that are like, I'm not going to go into the fucking synopsis for each one. But I just feel like A Bug's Life didn't age that well. And so that's going to make me put it into the kind of okay category because, yeah, it's done okay, but it's still, I mean, not so much like a still a good time. It's just not quite, in that category. Then, of course, the big one was the sequel to Toy Story 2, which was again, I mean, this was 1999. John Lasseter again, so this was his third one, right? Big fucking deal. Personally, I guess my second favorite Toy Story, but just really, 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 good. A lot of the times when it comes to sequels, and this isn't just animation, of course, it's sequels in general. They suffer from this sort of sophomore slump thing where one of two things can happen, right? So they can either try and sort of rehash a lot of the same gags and that sort of thing, and that ends up falling flat, and it's because you're like, I've seen this before, it was funnier the first time around, or that sort of thing. And we're actually going to see some movies like that in this list. Or it's like they try something completely new and it just like falls flat, which I think there's also one like that in this list, maybe two. But yeah, it's pretty much as sequels come and go, which is treacherous territory to begin with because, like I said, it's not easy to pull off a good sequel. Toy Story 2 is pretty damn good, so definitely also a must watch, and that's really like a rare thing that you'd have them sort of like both be like must watches. But yeah, Toy Story is much outside the mold on this one because it's just that good. The fourth movie released by Pixar was 2001, and that was Monsters Inc. Monsters Inc. actually ended up watching it yesterday, so that's really fresh in the memory, and still good. But yeah, it's again, yeah, I don't know if it's the whole comparing it to um to to like some of the other things. So I mean, at this stage already you had like the Toy Story franchise, and then you had A Bug's Life. But what I do now think is that I mean it was a super novel idea, the whole thing with like the doors and scaring kids because they needed the energy and this whole thing. Like again, I'm trying to like not do any fucking spoilers here or anything like that. So I mean, for fuck's sake, if you haven't watched it yet, then obviously get to that. But I'm actually sitting here right now thinking that it is pretty much probably a must watch. Just because it is such a unique idea, and it was, I mean, the fucking the in jokes, and like the universe building kind of thing that they do there, which eventually led to them making a sequel, of course, was really good. So I think I mean I just try to drag it from the fucking display screen. Anyway, so definitely a must watch there as well. Pretty solid, and like I said, I don't think by 1999 or sorry 2001 there wasn't really anything like that. Now, funnily enough, or interesting enough, Monsters Inc. was the first Pixar movie to move away from John Lasseter as a director, and it was Pete Docter was the director for that. So they tried something different there. Um, Fifth movie is Finding Nemo. Now, Finding Nemo I also watched yesterday, so yesterday was a fucking Pixar day. But Finding Nemo is the funny one out of the lot because look, Pixar movies they tend to kind of be like a little bit sad sometimes. Toy Story, for instance, has a couple of things where you're like, God damn, it really like hits right in the fucking feels and stuff. But Finding Nemo did not fuck around. I mean, that was hectic with the beginning. And again, I'm not going to put any spoilers, but it starts heavy, and then the whole, basically trying to find his kid and everything like that. So, but I mean, Finding Nemo spawned so many fucking memes. I mean, just the stuff with the what do you call it? Rats with wings, and the pelican and yeah, it's just it spawned a whole bunch of memes. Had some really fucking amazing A-list celebrities like doing the voices and everything. And I also think like in a way, so this is 2003, so Pixar had been around for like 8 years now, since 1995. And it was starting to become like a fucking thing. Like Pixar was like a big deal. So while they had good voice acting up until then, it really sort of like stepped up here where you had real triple A fucking voice talent that was doing the, well, not just voice talent, but movie stars, Hollywood stars that were doing the voices for these characters. But most definitely Finding Nemo is for sure a must watch. And as you can see, what's happening here is, I mean, you're really dealing with generally very high quality movies as a whole coming from the studio. So yeah, but you gotta watch Finding Nemo. It's fantastic. And yeah, it's unfortunately we're not done with the gotta watch them yet because there's a whole bunch more that are good like that. And I mean that's the perfect way for me to segue into The Incredibles, which was the next one after Finding Nemo. The Incredibles was their sixth movie, and for a long time, I mean, I've since changed my mind, but for a long time, The Incredibles was like my favorite Pixar movie. I have watched it a fuckload of times, even if it's just pieces at a time or something like that, because it's so kind of watchable in a way that you can do like a half an hour to 45 minutes or something, and there'll be like a really interesting bit or something like that. But yeah, fucking great movie, fantastic idea with the superhero family and hiding and all of that, and Most Def also a must watch. So then the seventh one would be Cars. So The Incredibles was directed by Brad Bird, which, like I mentioned, is one of my favorite Pixar directors. And so Cars was them going back to John Lasseter again. It was his first one after Toy Story 2. And right off the bat, I mean, I just want to say, I mean, that's I'm not going to be fucking apologetic about it, but I'm not a fan of the Cars series as a whole. There's three of them, right? And the first one is kind of okay. And so, that's obviously where I'm going to go ahead and put it. But, yeah, I don't know if it was in a weird way, like too similar to Toy Story, if I can say, like in a strange way. But yeah, it just didn't bite for me. Or maybe, I mean, it can also be that this was 2006, so I was 26 then. And I mean, I think there was a while here where I sort of didn't fucking watch so much Pixar or something. Maybe I was just in a different state of mind or something, but they just never stuck. And I rewatched them all like about a week and a half ago. And I mean, I finished them, but I was on my phone for a bit and things like that, so it just didn't really for me. Even though I watched Cars 2 for the first time a couple of weeks back, so it wasn't that like some of these movies like Toy Story 2 I've seen upwards of fucking maybe 15, 20 times, but I still watched it. I didn't go like, yeah, fuck, let me check my fucking WhatsApps or something. Yeah, so unfortunately, no, Cars was just kind of okay for me. Like I respect what they were trying to do, but it just wasn't fucking clicking for me. I believe it's then what the eighth is Ratatouille. So I'm hoping I'm pronouncing it right because there's like a bunch of fucking L's in that word. So ratatouille or whatever the fuck. But ratatouille is how I've always just said it. But it's the one with the mouse or the rat. Depending on what your proclivity is for fucking rats or mice. But that's the chef. And I wasn't a big fan when it came out, but subsequently watching it and actually watching it with my wife, we had such a good time, and I kind of like appreciated it for that. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's also Brad Bird again, so I mean I should have been liking it from the fucking get go, but yeah, I dig it a lot. Ratatouille is ended up being one of my more favorite ones now. I guess when I'm a little bit older. Um, this is a perfect time for me, and so yes, I would put it as a March watch. But this is also a time to say like, what's strange is some of these movies are instantly you can be like, yeah, I could watch this with a 4 or 5 or 6 year old or something like that, and they dig it, and we might not like it for the same reasons, but they'd find some parts of it that's enjoyable, and you'd find, and Toy Story I guess is one of them because there's some grown up shit in there that like a kid at 6 or whatever is not really gonna fucking get, but there's also the toys and all of that, and the fucking gags and the falling and the stuff like that, which of course a kid is that's right up their alley. So yeah, but Ratatouille is one of those ones where I think like it's almost like it's more for grown-ups. That's my honest feeling. But yeah. Okay, so then moving on from there, so now we're going. That's already Ratatouille was the eighth one, so the ninth one would be Wally. And Wally is a special one for me. I am a fucking huge fan. First of all, it's it's absolutely it's the craziest thing what they were able, and this what they were able to do with a movie that has like literally I can't remember exactly how much, but like less than a third of it has spoken dialogue. The rest is all music and sounds and just basically robot sounds and noises and things like that, like drawing the emotion out. And it's fucking amazing. Wally is pretty much as far as movies go. And I'm not gonna say this for a lot of them because I'm a huge fan of a lot of them, but a lot of them, like I wouldn't say a lot of them are perfect. But Wally 100% is um, a fucking must watch, damn straight. I mean that goes without saying. And sorry, I was looking for it in the fucking list there now. And also just one of those things where it's a movie that's unlike anything else that you're gonna see in the animated category for sure, and even in fucking live action. So there's two movies out of all of these that if you haven't ever watched a fucking single Pixar movie, I would tell you just start there, and Wally is one of them. It's phenomenal. So yeah, get on that. The next one is Up. Up was released in 2009, so it was literally like a year after Wally. And this is really where Pixar wasn't fucking around because Wally was good. Up was fucking good. Wally was great, and Up was fucking great. They were so close to one another. Like you were literally still going like, Jesus, Wally is the shit, and then out comes Up. Completely different kind of movie, not robots, anything like that. Different subject matter, all of that, but just phenomenal. Again, one of these, tugs at the heartstrings, everything like that. And I've come to when I've gotten older now and maybe dealing a little bit more with loss and love and that sort of thing. Up just even reaches a higher height in terms of what it's about and what it means. So huge fan. Definitely also a must watch. And as I said, the two ones which I would say, like, if you haven't watched a single Pixar movie and for some reason you have to start somewhere and you can only watch like one or two or something like that, then these would be your two. It'll be Wally and Up for sure. A year after Up, Pixar released Toy Story 3. And Toy Story 3 is probably, I would say, the strongest one of the four. I mean, there's four in total. So right off the bat, I mean, let's just get this out there. Toy Story 3 is also a must watch. Um, Jesus, is there ever going to be another category? Who knows, right? Who knows? Just hold on to your seats. There's like 10 left here. We might still get some surprises. But Toy Story 3 was, I think at the time when it came out, sorry, I poured myself a beer and I just haven't fucking touched it. Toy Story 3 at the time when it came out, I think that was very much for them going to be the end of the story. I think 4 was never really planned. I mean, maybe 3 was never really planned, but they sure didn't. They didn't feel like it when you had 3 coming out. Fucking great story. Closing the sort of circle on a lot of the threads and things like that had been running through the first 2 movies. But yeah, I mean, Toy Story 3 is 2010, right? So that's a good 15 years after the first one came out, and to get pretty much all of the talent back and circle back on a lot of the stories that were going on, a lot of the characters that were in the first 2 is something in on itself as well. But I think you kind of, with animation, it's a little bit easier because it's just people's voices, right? So the characters themselves, I mean, they're just getting older in your head. They're not actually physically aging in front of you. But yeah, pretty damn good. My favorite out of the Toy Stories is 2, but like 3 is a very close second to that. After Toy Story 3 was Cars 2. This was back again with John Lasseter. I'm fucking convinced there's a bunch of people that think Cars is a shit, and that's fucking cool. I mean, power to you. But for the same reasons that I didn't really like the first one, it was just like magnified by the second one, because I was like, why? Not that I'm a huge fan of making sequels just for the sake of making sequels, because then maybe you end up with an arbitrary movie or something that you don't want anything to do with. But yeah, I just didn't see the point. So I mean, this would be for me like a don't bother. Okay, and then after Cars 2 we had Brave. So Brave was I want to say Scottish, but I know if I fuck this up now and it ends up being Irish, and then I'm gonna get it in the fucking neck from people. But it was based on the folklore from that, the Celtic type of vibe and all of that. And I've only ever watched Brave. Well, I'm gonna say 2.5 times, because one time I actually watched it on a fucking plane flying from South Africa to go somewhere, and it was on, for some reason it was on the classics or something like that on the fucking plane, and I just thought like, fuck, I've only ever seen this once, like let me give it a whirl. And yeah, I mean, it's just kind of forgetful, right? So I don't recall. Like, I mean, I remember what the story was about, and I remember the gist of it, and kind of what was happening, but I can't like almost recall the entire movie like I can do with Toy Story, or recall my 5 favorite parts in the movie like with The Incredibles, and this and that. So it just really it didn't really stick, and yeah, I'm just wasn't really my jam. So, but again, I mean, I get it, and it was a wild departure for them from their normal, sort of. I mean, I appreciate the fact that you're trying to bring like some kind of a fairy tale or something to, which is not the standard, the normal, the usually mined, stuff for like fairy tales, So, yeah, I have to say, I mean, it's really, for me, it's kind of like between a kind of okay and a don't bother. But then if I put it in don't bother next to Cars 2, I feel fucking kind of bad. So yeah, I would say it's a kind of okay. After Brave, 1 year later, we had Monsters University. So Monsters University being the sequel to Monsters Inc., but kind of being a prequel to Monsters Inc., right? But again, not trying to do spoilers or something like that. But yeah, so this is what I'm talking about, like one of those situations where it it did the thing that sequels do when they sort of repeat the same gags, and it's kind of like a lot of the same, and maybe too much time had passed from the first one, and since I mean, I don't know if they were trying to pull a fucking another hat trick with another franchise in Pixar like they were doing with Toy Story, but it just didn't have the same fucking oomph that you had with those ones, and so yeah, it didn't really fucking jam for me. But I mean, I would say it's kind of okay. Again, I kind of like use Cars 2 as a measuring thing now, where I'm like, oh fuck, yeah, okay, I don't want to put that next to Cars 2, because Cars 2, that's really not my jam. But you know, I'd fuck with Monsters University if I had to, right? Um, Inside Out was after Monsters University, like 2 years later. And Inside Out was a funny one because this was really like nothing else had been done, you know, like this before. And I think most likely Inside Out is the most serious grown up animated movie that Pixar has ever made. And what I mean by that is, I think if you watch this as a 10-year-old, it's a completely different movie to watching it as a 20-year-old, and a fucking vastly different movie to watching it as like a 30 or 40-year-old. Like, I fucking watched it the other day as a 40-year-old, and I was like, holy shit. And it's not because I'm watching and I'm going like, oh my god, I never fucking saw this before, but it is very much on it. It deals with a lot of things that you know, maybe you weren't thinking like that like 10 years back, and now you are, right? So yeah, fucking insanely good movie, just really good, and funny, and really good gags. But I mean, I found it a little bit frustrating as well, because you know, there's a particular character in it that I just get so fucking angry with, and I just want, you know, it's almost like it's this helpless feeling that you have, because you like see where this is going, and you know, it's bad and all of that. And yeah, I just learned to love the movie a lot more recently in my life. So I mean, when I saw Inside Out 2015, I mean, it's only 5 years ago, but yeah, I appreciate it as a movie or as a piece of art like a lot more now than I did back then, even though it's, you know, it's only like 5 years. So definitely a must watch as well. Then after Inside Out, we had The Good Dinosaur. Now, The Good Dinosaur, here's a fucking interesting one, right? So I don't really get the point of it, because I feel like the story that Pixar is trying to tell with The Good Dinosaur, they've told in another way already with some of the other movies. So it kind of felt like a bit of a rehashing of, you know, something that they've already done, but obviously looking at it from another angle or something like that. And also, I mean, it's got some super brutally weird, sad parts in it, and yeah, it's fucking strange with the main character and all. Yeah, I just it didn't click with me. It didn't. Yeah, it just didn't work for me. So I feel like, I mean, I actually, the first time ever that I watched The Good Dinosaur, I watched it with um like my no, I'm struggling how to say this now. So I'm struggling with the fucking, what do you call it, a pronoun or something like that. But so my wife's sister's kid, it was playing, and we had arrived at the house, and I just sort of sat down, and I hadn't watched it before at all, because it hadn't gotten good reviews, and I didn't like the fucking trailer, and yeah, it just, like, I don't know, it just didn't seem like a good time. It also came out in 2015 as well. So I mean, this is Pixar when they released like 2 movies in the same fucking year, which maybe, you know, the only other time they did that was Cars 3 and Coco, and you know, we're gonna have a similar problem there when we talk about Cars 3. But yeah, I just didn't think it was fucking great, and there's a lot of it that didn't fit at all. So it wasn't like me going, you know, maybe I'm not in the right mood for it or something like that, or you know, maybe it's because it's dinosaurs and I'm fucking tired of seeing dinosaurs or whatever. So, but yeah, it's just I think terrible is maybe like a little bit fucking harsh, but I mean, if it's entirely possible, I dislike it more than I do Cars 2, which is fucking saying something, right? So yeah. Um, Finding Dory came after that, which is of course a sequel to the super successful Finding Nemo. And Finding Dory was funny because I mean it was essentially a continuation of the story, but almost like a lot of the original characters were not part of it. So you had to buy into the whole thing, and if you didn't like Dory as a character from the first movie, then you were like, then this was bound to piss you off, or at least put you down the wrong path from the beginning. Of course, once you sit and watch it though, and you get some backstory on the character and everything like that, then your mind's probably gonna change because they did it really well. But that means that you have to buy into it, right? Like you have to actually get that first half an hour, 35 minutes, 40 minutes, and allow the movie to develop for you, so that you don't go like a half an hour and you're like, yeah, fucking Dory's irritating as fuck, boom, I'm out. So yeah, but I personally fucking, it's kind of forgetful to me, and obviously doesn't rank against the original, so it's very much like a kind of okay kind of situation for me. Um, After that was Cars 3. Cars 3, like, yeah, I don't know. Cars 3 and Cars 2 are kind of like the same. But I'm just going to go ahead, and this is just, I'm making a judgment call and putting it on a terrible, because this is something that I'm like, why the fuck is this going on so long for? Because I haven't checked this, so don't fucking at me and be like, yeah, dude, Cars 2 made a fucking killing and sold like 5 billion fucking DVDs and whatever, because I don't know that. I'm just playing it off my own personal feelings, but like, I don't think Cars 2 was very successful for them. I fucking doubt it. And since it wasn't very successful, why the fuck did you make a third one? So whatever. But again, like I said, Cars 3 and Coco, which is the next one we're going to discuss now, came out in the same year. So maybe this was something that was on the fucking, floor, and they were looking at it and going like, yeah, well, we've, done some storyboards now, and we kind of worked on it. Like, let's push this fucking thing out. Let's go. But anyway, I don't see the effort, or the reason for it. So I just like, whatever, get the fuck out. Coco is also a funny one for me, because I'm supposed to like Coco more than I do, because it is also kind of good, but the subject material as a whole isn't super interesting for me. So I guess Mardi Gras and Land of the Dead, or whatever, so I'm not even know if I'm saying it right, but yeah, is not like my favorite thing. And yeah, I just wasn't very much pulled in by the story or anything like that. While, I mean, from a fucking technical perspective, the animation was fantastic. The music was really fucking good. And on that merit alone, I kind of have to give it that. So for me, it's really, sort of lying between still a good time and kind of okay. But I sort of feel like I want to put it under still a good time, because there were things in it that I still found, good. Like I said, the music, and I mean, the animation is phenomenal. It looks fucking insane on 4K. So yeah, I mean, I can't fault it for that. After Coco, and we're getting to the back, few now, so there's only 3 left. So after Coco was Incredibles 2, which was like late, because I think as a sequel, we kind of always knew that there was going to be a second one, especially because of the way how the first movie ended. And they just took sort of forever to come around to it. So it's Brad Bird again. So I mean, they got the same director, everything like that. He's also the writer. So I mean, everything, they did everything right to make this a successful sequel. But if you look at what they were able to do with Toy Story and Toy Story 2 versus Incredibles and Incredibles 2, it didn't quite click as good. It's still a good time. So I mean, where this is going, right? It's still a good time, but there's something missing from it. There's something wrong with it, if I can put it that way, that just doesn't put it up there with like the must-watch category. Which is sad, because you have Toy Story 1, Toy Story 2, and fucking Toy Story 3, which you can watch all 3 and then you're like, God damn, these are good fucking movies. And it sucks that you can't do that with Incredibles 2. And I don't know, maybe it's because so much time passed. Maybe. With Toy Story, you had the 4 movies, and it's 4 movies over the space of 25 years. Whereas Incredibles, the sequel came out in 2018, and the first the first movie came out in 2004. So that's a 14-year gap. And so if you were an Incredibles fan when you were fucking 20, which is highly likely because, I mean, I was 24 when it came out and I fucking loved it. So if you were an Incredibles fan when you were 20, then, you were 30 fucking 4 when, the next one came out. So, it's just not quite there, and it pisses me off that I can't put it in the must-watch category because I'm a huge fan, but what are you going to do? Second last one on our list here is Toy Story 4. As I said, look, I think when Toy Story 3 came out, which was 2010, I think the story was kind of like done. And I mean, they could 100% have left it there. And I think that would have been fine. But look, I'm not gonna do the thing where I'm like, yeah, no, fucking money, and I had to come back for fucking money and make money because I don't think Pixar's in shit that they need to, get bank. But I mean, it's not a terrible movie, and I laughed and it was funny and it was kind of cool like that. But I mean, do we really need it? No, I suppose not. But I mean, it's still, it's the characters that you love, right? They're all back, Buzz, fucking Woody, all the fucking other ones, the smaller toys, and a bunch of new ones. And so I mean, now a whole bunch of time has passed, so there's new meta jokes they can make and that sort of thing. And it was funny to see how game like. It's because technology is new and now. I mean, it's a beautiful movie, right? So it's well put together, but yeah, it's just kind of okay. I feel the same way about it as I felt about Finding Dory. Okay, maybe I like it slightly more than Finding Dory, but yeah, I'm like, I don't think I needed it in my life. So yeah. Last one, Onward. Onward's a funny one as well because 2020, so this kind of, came out in the year March 6th, 2020. It's kind of like when fucking coronavirus hit or something. So I mean, that even to me, with this year being what it is, feels like 15 fucking years ago. And I'm joking, but I mean, it feels like a long time ago. But March 6th, 2020 is not that far back, right? But it's one of those that I just, as a whole, I didn't really like or get the idea. I mean, not get the ideas. I'm not trying to make it seem like this is like some highbrow cinema that you need to be technical and understand. But yeah, it's just, it seemed like not such a well put together idea like some of the other movies in this list, especially to the top. And I think it suffered a little bit from getting rushed out. And it's again just my fucking, just from a feeling. I haven't done any research on that. Although I do want to admit that I kind of feel like I've fucking read that somewhere before. That a lot of people were saying that it could have been in the oven a little bit longer before it came out. But yeah, so I kind of want to say. I mean, again, I'm doing this thing where I go like, Jesus Christ. It's next to Cars 2, which feels terrible. But in this case, I kind of do feel that it belongs there because that is Don't Bother. And I feel that in 2020, there's probably other movies that you can watch in the animation, realm that would give you a better time. I mean, you're not, we're far from, like the early 2000s stuff where there wasn't like a lot of this like really good shit. I mean, I'm not saying go watch fucking Frozen 2 or something like that, but yeah, I just, again, it's one of those that I didn't really get so much, and because it doesn't have any sequels, anything like that, and also because I don't think it's saying anything really fucking important, which a lot of the Pixar movies they do. They have a message that's that ties back to real shit, real emotions, real relationships, that sort of thing, and yeah, I just don't. Onward didn't really do that for me. So, There's my list. Just to sort of repeat, so my must-watch ones would be Toy Story 1, 2, and 3. It would be Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, Ratatouille, whatever, Wall-E, Up, and Inside Out. If you are a fucking Pixar virgin or you haven't watched any of this stuff, then don't take my word for it. Go check out other people's lists, but I don't think you can do wrong by yourself by putting a couple of these in and fucking watching them. You know, binge the shit out of these. They're fucking fun as hell. If you got kids or nephews coming over or something like that, this shit is gonna entertain like fucking nobody's business. So yeah, it's good shit. But let me know if you guys like this sort of content, like discussing like tier lists and that sort of thing, and if there's any other lists that you're interested in. I like it because I like talking a lot, so it's interesting. But it's also a cool way because it kind of I get to almost in a weird way have a conversation with myself, where I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So that's why you like these movies and everything. But yeah. Please feel free to comment or anything like that if there's anything else that you'd like to see in a tier list format or discussing, or if you want to discuss some of my choices. If you think I'm a fucking douchebag for putting The Good Dinosaur in the terrible category, sorry, but that's the thing, it's tastes differ. But other than that, thanks for watching, and have a good evening, a day, or fucking morning, wherever you are, and take care of yourself. Cheers.